Number 10, unfortunately, is The Last of Us. Now, I did happen to see some game footage of this at the VGAs, and to be quite honest, the more of this game I see, the less I get impressed. And so it's really more on this list just in terms of curiosity. I still think this is going to be a great game, definitely a contender for a Game of the Year for 2013, but just for me personally, and with my past experience with Naughty Dog, I'm going to keep my expectations of this not so high, but enough to at least have an enjoyable experience and make sure that it doesn't feel like Uncharted. And although I get the strange feeling that that's exactly what this game in the long running is going to feel like for me and maybe most of you out there. Now from 10, let's go on to number 9, which is Beyond Two Souls. Now, Beyond Two Souls is actually being made by the development team that worked on Heavy Rain, and I really enjoyed Heavy Rain. Many people thought that it was more of an interactive movie where you would just, you would just press clues, but I thought that in terms of story-wise, it was definitely effective with that type of gameplay, and I really hadn't played a game like that since. Now, with Beyond Two Souls, it seems like they're going to take that same element, but definitely, hopefully, upgrade the gameplay and make it more interactive so that I feel more part of this story than simply just watching the story unfold. I'd actually like to take a part in the story. And knowing that Ellen Page is going to be the main character of this particular story, I'm definitely fascinated to see exactly how they incorporate really all the ideas that I've heard. I'm not going to get into it in this particular video, but I definitely think this is going to be probably one of the most unique games that comes out next year. That's if it does come out next year. And now moving on to number 8, we have South Park Stick of Truth. Now, this one was actually recently added on because I saw this at the VGS also, and now that I got to see what the gameplay looks like, it surprisingly looks a lot like the actual show. And I'm a big fan of South Park, so having those two elements, having a South Park game look completely identical to the South Park cartoon or show, and make it not look like a game but have the have gameplay elements with the show, I think is a perfect mix of the two. And I may be wrong when I heard this rumor, but you actually get to create your own character, and the South Park cast will interact with, your avatar the way you want to look. So I think seeing myself interacting with Cartman, making Jew jokes about Kyle, is going to be a pretty enjoyable time, and definitely it's going to be something I'm definitely have fun reviewing when it comes out. Now, going on to number 7, we have Metal Gear Solid Rising. When this game was first announced and I heard that it was going to be more of a hack and slash game, I was a bit disappointed because it had the title Solid on it. But now that they fix it and it's now simply called Metal Gear Rising, I'm actually more open for the idea because it's like a side story that may have some connections to the main storyline of Metal Gear Solid, but maybe have its own taste. And now that I've seen some gameplay footage of kind of the direction they want to go, I'm definitely open for new things. This is certainly not the first time a franchise of mine has decided to change its gameplay completely to make it more unique. So the fact that Metal Gear wants to join that bandwagon, I'm totally open for the idea. As long as it's entertaining and fun, which from what I've seen it will be, definitely makes it a heavy contender for probably going to be one of my favorite games of 2013, but only time will tell. Now, going on to number 6, we have Bioshock Infinite. I did want to put this up higher because of what I've seen recently, but they just announced that it's not going to have multiplayer, which is a plus for me, and that it was delayed for specific reasons. They're not saying why it has been delayed, but in my particular case, that's actually a good thing because now I can actually get the collector's edition. And the gameplay and story base definitely looks like an upgrade from Bioshocks 1 and 2. Now that we'll be playing as Booker, a character that can actually talk and interact with the main girl of this story, which if I believe her name is Elizabeth, I may be wrong, I'm sorry. But just to see Bioshock in a new environment with hopefully some new plasmids, some new abilities, maybe some choice path choosing elements, hopefully, is sure to make Bioshock Infinite probably what could be my favorite entry in the series, and is also a possible contender for Game of the Year next year. On to number 5, I have Tomb Raider. This, now, I'll come out and say this right now. I've never been a fan of Tomb Raider of any of the games up until now. simply because Lara Croft to me seemed like she was too much of like a superhero, and I wanted to delve more into her character. Not necessarily into her past, but more of kind of what made her into the legendary female icon that she is known for. So the fact that they're going back to her origins and making her a much more vulnerable character and adding some survival elements to see exactly how she would develop as a character throughout the series, I definitely think this is a proper intro for anyone who's not a fan of the Tomb Raider series like me. And some people are saying that this is kind of a rip-off of the Uncharted series. Well, it could be the same thing in reverse. Some people say that Uncharted borrowed from Tomb Raider, so the fact that they want to go back and forth, it's an open idea for me. So all I can hope is that they keep the survival element there and it's not too heavily gun-based like the previous games. As long as they can pull that off, I'm sure this is going to be a great game to own. On to number 4, we have God of War Ascension. God of War, another PlayStation exclusive. I'm not the biggest God of War fan, but definitely probably a little bit above average. As some of you may know, I do own a Blade of Chaos replica. And the fact that we are now going into Kratos' past, to the very, very beginning, before even Chains of Olympus, was a little bit disappointing for me that we were going back, because it was like, what more could they do with the story? I thought they were going to make like maybe an alternate timeline, or maybe this is going to be like God of War 4, but I'm sure that game will come out eventually, maybe in the next couple of years. But perhaps we will see a different side of Kratos that we haven't seen. Generally, he's a very, very angry character. Maybe we'll see a less angrier version, or find out exactly what pact, as they announced in the trailer, he broke with some unjust god. So I just want to know more about Kratos, to see if there's something under all that anger, and perhaps there's a good chance that we may see that in this game. And I've already pre-ordered the collector's edition. I can't wait to do an unboxing for that, and it is another great game that will be a contender for my game of 2013. But there are a couple other games that might beat it, and that's starting off with Aliens Colonial Marines. Now this game, I heard about this several years back, and it is happy to hear that it is finally coming out. This unquestionably will be the shooter of 2013 for me, because from what I've seen, this looks like this could be the first true sequel to say Aliens, which actually it's kind of more of like an alternate timeline. But the fact that we are playing a legitimate shooter game with aliens, I mean, although we did have Alien vs. Predator, which wasn't really all that bad, but it just didn't quite have the execution quite down. But the fact that it's going to be a team-based game, it's going to have some great story elements. The fact they're throwing several different xenomorphs at you and adding much more of a claustrophobic, compact feeling to the game definitely will make it probably not the over-based shoot everything in sight type shooter, but more of a survival shooter, and that's really something I haven't played in some time. And that is why it is, I'm happy to give it the number 3 spot. Now going on to number 2, we have Injustice: Gods Among Us. This is coming from NetherRealm Studios. They created the last Mortal Kombat game, which was the best fighting game I had played in I don't know how many years, probably not since Mortal Kombat 2. And the fact that they incorporate the story so well, I'd like to see them do the same thing with Injustice: Gods Among Us. If you have seen my top 10s list of characters I would like to see put into this particular game, if they could just put maybe 3 or 4 of those characters in this game, that would definitely solidify it as perhaps being a game worthy of taking that title away from 2010's Mortal Kombat. But only time will tell. All I know is I can't wait to start getting the Trinity together to kick all your guys' asses. And finally, my number 1 most anticipated game of 2013 is the only sequel to a previous original game of the year, for me at least, and that is Dead Space 3. Dead Space 2 was tied with Infamous 2 for my 2011 game of the year. It basically took everything about Dead Space 1 and took it to the next level in terms of gameplay, story, and enemies, approach. Everything was upgraded. So the fact that we are now getting a third one just 2 years after 2 is a great feeling. And the fact that they're incorporating co-op in a proper way, not as Capcom has been doing with its recent Resident Evil games, making sure that the story actually adapts to whether you are playing by yourself or with a friend is something that I think survival horror games should take note of, because the element of co-op does take away the fear aspect, but the fact that you can control 1 or 2 players and it affects the story is simply something that more games should be doing, and why it's taken so long for them to do it is mystery to me. And as an honorable mention, I do know that Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero was announced about 3 months ago. I really doubt it'll be coming out 2013, but maybe 2014 as just an honorable mention, along with the new release of The Phantom Pain, which, you know, many people have kind of been speculating that it's Metal Gear Solid 5, but that's beside the point. Anyway, this is my top 10s list for 2013, and tell me, what do you guys think of my list? Do you think it's a really good list, solid list? And tell me, what are some of your top 10 most anticipated games of 2013? I'd really like to know. And if you like this video, please like, comment down below, and subscribe to keep track of me and my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.